Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's the one and only Waiver Wire Queen. Today, I want to talk to you about my top 5 drafting strategies I use, whether it's a fantasy football dynasty league, redraft league, keeper league. This is what I tend to do to prepare myself for a draft. Hit that like button if you're looking for more videos from Waiver Wire Queen to help you get ready for the 2021 fantasy football season, in which you'll be hearing about sleepers, starts and sits, potential players to target in your dynasty league or rookie drafts. All right, y'all, let's jump right into it. So, when I first started playing fantasy football, I didn't know what the heck was going on, what to do. I just entered a draft and I draft players. I didn't do any type of research. I didn't do anything. I just went in there and said, "Ooh, I have it all up here. I know what's going on," and just started drafting players. Obviously, it didn't work out too well. So over the years, I've gotten better at it, and I've come up with my own strategy to help me prepare for a draft, because you want to prepare for a draft before the draft. And when I mean before the draft, not 10, 20 minutes before the draft. You want to prepare for the draft. You want to have, if it's a dynasty league, you want to have this going on throughout the off season to prepare yourself for whenever your league is going to draft. If it's a redraft league, most of those leagues draft in August, pushing it if it's like early September because the season will start. So I'll say you need a few weeks because a lot of this is money. A lot of these are money leagues, and we don't like losing any money. So this is my number one strategy that I utilize. First off, you need to review and know what the league rules are, the scoring format, roster format, and the league settings. If you don't know anything about how the league is set up, how are you going to draft? You're going to get in there and you're going to be drafting players thinking it's a PPR league and it's standard. I did that one time early on and I'm like, okay, I don't even do standard leagues anymore. I'm strictly a PPR player. Don't call me about no standard leagues because I'm just not into that. I like the PPR format. So you need to know these things because this will help you target the type of players you really should be looking for in a PPR league. If you're looking to be in a PPR league and you're drafting a running back who does not get any catches or anything like that, that can hurt you during the season. So you want to know that. And then you also want to know like what the format is. How many quarterbacks are you going to start? How many running backs you're going to start? How many wide receivers do you have to start? Are we starting a tight end? Are we starting defense or kicker? You need to know that because you don't want to get in a draft and you're just, well, let me draft this, that. You draft like 4 or 5 quarterbacks and you only need to start one. And now you are lacking in other areas like running back, which I'll tell you in most drafts, the running backs will go off the board fairly quickly. So rule number 1, strategy number 1 for Waiver Wire Queen, know the setup of the league completely. Not half of it, not 1/4 of it, all of it. All right, y'all. The next strategy that I utilize, this is going to be 2. I try to keep it in that order, which helps me because I want to be organized because you don't want to get in no draft and be unorganized because it's not going to end well for you. I strategize on what positions I am trying to target first, what players at these positions I am potentially looking to target, and I try to stick to the format. So the goal is going into that first round, round 1, you need to know what players you're targeting. However, you need to know what format are you going. What order are you going? Are you drafting a running back first in the first round? Are you drafting a wide receiver first? Are you drafting a quarterback? Check out my video on how I went 11-2 with a different drafting strategy that I never usually use because I always go in a draft first round. I'm always drafting a running back. Check out that video and you'll see how I went 11-2 and used a different format. But I had that format in my mind and planned out before I went into the draft. And that is the goal. Because you don't want to go into a draft and you don't know what you're doing and you're just picking players. I talk to a lot of guys in the different leagues I'm in, and most of them, they have a strategy. Some of them, same strategy every year. Some people, tired of losing, they switch it up. Okay. So you got to figure out what's going to work for you and what's going to be best for your team based on the setup of the league. And you know that because that's the first thing you did. And so now you're developing your drafting strategy on what position to pick. Who is the best player available and who do you really think is going to lead your team to a great season and ultimately the championship? All right. So my third strategy and what I love the most, and I know everyone who plays fantasy football loves this, mock drafts. Oh my goodness gracious. I cannot stress the importance of mock drafts. They're fun. So hell, if you want to do it for fun, just do it. But you should be doing these mock drafts. And some of them may not be set up based on the league you're in, depending on what platform you're using. If you are using the Sleeper app, you can actually go into the league and click mock draft, and it'll be based on the format and setup of your league, which is great. So if you're able to do that, cool. That'll help you even more to determine who you should pick, when you should pick them. Okay. So mock drafts, why are those important? Because you get to determine if this strategy is going to work, if this format is going to work during the draft. If I'm picking a quarterback first, my running back that I want to say target in the third round, is he going to potentially be there? If I'm going running back first, what wide receivers are going to be available when it comes back around to me? Or if you're going wide receiver first, what running backs are going to be available to me once it come back around? Because a lot of these leagues are 2 running back leagues. You have to start 2. And you want to have 2 starters. You do not want to go into a season and you have 1 starting running back or no starting running backs. You can already hang it up. But if you're listening to Waiver Wire Queen and watching me throughout the season, if you make that mistake, I'm going to get you right. So strategize. Have your format ready. And the most important thing is, do not abort that mission and that strategy during the draft. If you want to tweak it because there's a player that you have on your board and you are projecting him to go in, say, the later rounds, but you're watching and analyzing the draft and you're like, I got to go and get my guy now. There's nothing wrong with getting your guy if it's a round or 2 early. Do not reach for someone. Like if it's a player and he's projected to go in like 12th, 13th, 14th round and you want to reach for this player in the 6th round, don't do it. Do not do it. I've watched some drafts where players like Brandon Cooks went ahead of Michael Thomas. That's not the right way to go. Okay. So stick to your strategy in that format that you have created beforehand. And if you have to make adjustments, make sure you make those adjustments and you stick to it and you don't forget it, because you don't want to forget what you did and then mess up. But that's why we have a draft board. You don't just go off and put players in the queue and your draft. You have your own draft board with list of players you want to target. What I do is I'll have 3 different strategies. Obviously, I'm going to have them based on first, second, and third. Sometimes your strategy is going to change because if it's a league where you don't know where you pick, like redraft, you don't know until 30 minutes to an hour before the draft. You really don't know. If you know where you're picking, you can base it off of that. However, you just never know what's going to happen in the draft, because you may think that, hey, at pick number 3, I can get Saquon Barkley if that's who you're targeting, and somebody drafted him with the first pick. But you were thinking maybe they'll draft CMC or Cook. No, they drafted Saquon. So you may have to tweak it up. And then you have different strategies. You have different scenarios based on what happens, especially at that first pick. So I don't ever just have one. I have, okay, this is one, this is the format, and this is what I'm going with. Then you have 2, and then you have 3. Because it's serious, it's fun, but it is serious, and we take it serious. So you have to plan, and you have to be ready, and you have to be prepared. Nothing else. Have that board ready and start checking off those players as you pick who you want. If it's somebody you realize, hey, I didn't even have this person on my list and I'm high on him, put him on your list and project where you can pick him up. Sometimes during the draft, you have to make adjustments and you just make them and you make a notate on your board because you need a draft board. You do not go into that draft without a draft board knowing who to draft because that draft board is going to come into play mostly in the later rounds where you're in this draft. It's like round 15, especially if it's a dynasty league and it's first time around, first draft. Late in those rounds, you're going to appreciate that you have your own draft board because you did your research and you know that, okay, this guy right here, like Trey Sermon, for example, he's here late. I can add him to my taxi squad if this is a dynasty sleeper league and you have a taxi squad. You can add him to your taxi squad. And obviously, this is on a sleeper platform. So you want to know because you don't want to just get to the late rounds and you're just picking players. You don't know who these players are. You don't know if they're really going to have any value to your team. So you can just be picking players just to drop them and have to go pick up someone else or just be forced and try to make a trade, or you just bombed on the pick and it didn't work. It's nothing wrong with having the pick wrong because you did your research and this player just didn't pan out. But it could be a lot of issues and it could be totally wrong if you draft a player who you know nothing about and it doesn't pan out. That's wasteful. We don't want to be wasteful because we are competitive and the goal is to win every game if you can. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone go undefeated in any leagues I've been in, but hey, we got to have goals. And the goal is to win every week if you can. And then win your league. That's my goal every year. Y'all don't know about you, but that's my goal. All right, y'all. What else do I do before I go into a draft? You do a lot of research, meaning you are constantly knowing what's going on in the news, and you can just go onto the NFL website and do a lot of research there. Or if you have certain sites you may want to utilize, you can do that. I have a few that I use, and I do research on the players I'm looking at. You got to do research on the players who were just drafted this year in the NFL draft. You know the main guys, but as I said, late in those drafts, there are guys you may not know about if you're not big on watching college football. So you really need to do homework and research because if it's a dynasty league, you're going to have to fill your roster out with some of these guys. If this is a redraft league, a lot of these guys may be on waivers, but however, you may need to pick them up later on in the season and hit that like button because you're going to be watching Waiver Wire Queens videos throughout the season, and I'll be able to give you some sleepers you may have to pick up because we always have to be ahead of the game, ahead of your competition. That is the ultimate goal. Also, part of that research, know the depth chart. And you can do that by just going on the NFL website. I have a site that I use, and along with the NFL website, I constantly know who's on the depth chart. But trust me, sometimes that does not mean anything, which is why you put that with the news. If it's a player you're looking at, Google his name. You'll be able to see what the latest news is on that player, or you can follow that team to see what's going on with a particular player you're targeting. But knowing the depth chart, because if you have, say, the running backs on the 49ers, you see that Wilson, he's hurt. He's going to miss some weeks. Okay, he's probably going to still be available at the beginning of the season. But we know that a lot of times those running backs on the 49ers get hurt. They always do. So, like, if you're in a dynasty league right now, you may go and pick up Wayne Goldman and have him on your roster. If it's during the regular season and say, we don't want anybody to get hurt, but if, say, one of those running backs would go down, you should know already who will be the next man up. And because you are turning on those notifications, you have them on, you know what's going on because you'll get that notification from Waiver Wire Queen, and you already know that, hey, boop, this guy should be on my team, and you won't have to know it once. say the player gets hurt or he's benched for lack of production, you'll know in advance. So you're not competing with your competition to pick these players up. You're ready, know what's going on. Always got to stay ahead of the game, guys. That is the goal. Stay ahead of the game so you'll always be in the game, but you'll be ahead of everyone else. That's right. I'm dropping them gems. That's what I'm talking about. Waiver Wire Queen is letting you guys know what you need to do and how you need to prepare. That's it. This is how I do things. It may seem excessive, but I'm always trying to be ahead of the game and know what's going on. Some people may have the same strategy. I just do my own research, and it has helped me tremendously. Especially one league I'm in. It's a dynasty league. My team's terrible. My team sucked. I had some big injuries and I just decided to blow it up. So I had to go into this draft. I don't really watch a lot of college football. So what I had to do was I had to do some research and some homework. I obviously did research based on the other leagues I was in drafting rookies. And then I just did my own research outside of that, going to different website, reading up on these players, looking at the teams they were drafted to, and determining, okay, this player has potential to be a starter. And in dynasty leagues with the rookies, if once it gets to that later round, that's how you're going to have to do it. Like a real general manager. Do these players have potential? Maybe not in year one, but in year two. So if you are in the dynasty league and you're doing your draft, you already have this information because you did your research and you're strategizing and planning for those later rounds in your draft. Right? All right, guys? Yes. So, yes, those are some of my strategies. So that's my top 5. Let's recap. So review and know the setup format of that league. Strategize on the positions in the order of which you are going to draft in that draft. Know who you're targeting. Don't wait until somebody picks and it's your turn to determine who you target. And again, when you're drafting, guys, do not wait until you're on the clock to start looking for a player. Always be ready because anything can happen. Okay. Don't do that, guys. All right. Mock drafts. If nothing else, the mock drafts are fun. And this can kind of help you determine if you're targeting a certain player in a certain round at a certain position, if that player may be available, say, in that round that you are looking to target them. If they're not, you may have to adjust your plan. Nothing wrong with that because the goal is to get the guys you want and that you are confident that they are going to win each week for you. They're going to be capable of helping you win weekly and have the best record at the end of the season to get in the playoffs and ultimately win you a championship. All right. Also, make sure you are current with all of the news, know what's going on with the depth charts, etc. Everything you need to know about these players and the teams that they play for, because you can know about the player, but you need to know what team they play for. Example I use with the 49ers. If you know that a lot of their running backs get hurt, I watched drafts where all of their running backs were drafted at some point, and then in mainly the dynasty leagues, none of those running backs are available, and that's how you got to do it. You got to do it. Now, did you get all of them? No. Do I recommend you getting all of them? No. You just got to know who's going to be that guy at that point in time, if nothing else. And then 5, have that physical draft board going into the draft. So you already know, these are my guys. This is what I'm trying to do. And make sure you have 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 different strategies and scenarios pretty much for the draft, because anything can happen. Anything is possible with the draft. I'll tell you, in one league, I did the total opposite of what I'm sure everyone in that league thought I was going to do. And this was early on in the draft. So I'm sure it kind of changed up what some people were going to do. You may be in that position. So you have to have a plan A, B, and C, because all of those plans, that plan A may not work depending on where you are picking. Now, if you get to plan C and ain't nothing available, sound the alarm. No, don't sound the alarm. Just adjust, because you have your 3 different formats and then you have a bunch of players that you are targeting. You have your players you're targeting, and your sleepers. So you can always look back. Your whole plan is not going to go, your whole plan or scenario is not going to go in the wrong direction unless you just get in there and just do total opposite of what your plan is. Stick to your plan, stick to what you know is going to work best for you and to help you win, and everything should work out. All right, y'all. Y'all let me know what you think. Leave some comments and let me know what strategies you normally use, mainly in the first round. What position do you normally draft, or what player? Because some of us may have favorite players that we like to draft in that first round. Also, hit that like button so you can see more videos from the Waiver Wire Queen, getting you ready for the 2021 fantasy football season, and where I'll be letting you know about some sleepers. I'll be telling you starts and sits, some players you need to start, some players you need to sit, some players you need to kick off your team, and I'll help you with players on the wire. And we're going to do this in advance. We're not going to be waiting until the last minute. Once that player is known and then everybody is trying to get him, they're going to be trying to get him, and they're going to be like, oh, I can't get him. And they look, and that player's on your team. So now you have leverage because you can say, oh, I'm just going to start him. Or you can use that player in a dynasty league to acquire assets for future drafts or whatnot. Or you can keep, like I said, keep that player and use him to beat your opponent. But we stay ahead of the game. We are ready, and we stay ready because we're trying to win out here in these fantasy football streets. Every game, every season, and every championship as much as possible. All right, y'all. Hit that subscribe button and follow Waiver Wire Queen on Facebook, IG, Twitter, and TikTok, because I'm a TikToker now. I'm not going to sing, but I will let you know that the Giants is the best, and we're coming out the NFC East. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great day. Peace.